you attended our March Connection session, you saw me demo and present the benefits of the industry's first closed-loop analytic platform and how predictive analytics sits at the center of that closed loop. During that March session, as a follow-up to my demo of loading pre-built modeling data sets into predictive analytics, my colleague Roger asked me a question along the lines of, okay, it's great that you're providing these out-of-the-box data sets, but what if I have certain modeling needs and certain data that I want to bring with me that's not there? Or what if I don't even want to use your out-of-the-box data set and want to build something completely different? What do I do? And I gave a simple 1 or 2 sentence answer, something along the lines of, Data Studio will solve for those problems. Which is a pretty light answer when you're considering how important Data Studio is to the closed loop success. And that's why in a minute I'll be getting out of the way and I'll be letting my colleague Bruce demo the incredible progress his team has made on Data Studio. But first, I want to give a little context and then discuss some of the other features we're releasing in Cortina. When I present the closed loop analytic platform, I always highlight the 4 main pillars. 1, leveraging your core data and getting it onto a modeling platform. 2, enriching that data with targeted third-party data. 3, creating, building, and deploying models and then embedding them back into the core workflow. And then 4, continuously learning from those models' outcomes. When I present this, I'm frequently asked, of those 4 pillars, are they all equal? And the answer is definitely no. Step 1, leveraging your core data, is without a doubt the most important. It's the first step on the journey. It's what's commonly referred to in the industry as the first mile problem. And if you can't make that first mile, you can't take the rest of the journey around the closed loop. In talking with our customers, they frequently cite the number 80%. 80% of the effort needed to create, build, and deploy a model is spent on this first mile problem. 80. It's why so many projects are never started in the first place. It's why insurance companies have armies of data scientists and actuaries who are frustrated because they're spending their days stitching together data sets for this first mile problem when they'd rather be spending their days checking out the latest techniques and building models. It's also why the business executives of these insurance companies are looking at those data scientists and those actuaries and the associated budget and asking themselves, where's the return on investment here? At Guidewire, we empathize with those data scientists and actuaries. We feel that they've been working too hard for too long and not getting enough out of their efforts. But it's not just impacting data scientists and actuaries. As a result of this protracted first mile problem, carriers are slow to respond to market trends, causing them to fall prey to adverse selection and miss out on opportunities to their smaller, faster competitors. That's why we're investing so much in this first mile problem, and why what Bruce is about to show is so exciting. Because it turns your data wrangling workshop into a modeling factory. But before jumping into that demo, I'm going to lightly touch on 3 other features that we're releasing in this Cortina release. In the second pillar, enriching your insights, we've expanding our text mining capabilities that allow us to convert unstructured text data, like notes fields, into structured fields for modeling. Specifically, we've added the following techniques: fast text via SageMaker's Blazing Text, BERT, and TF-IDF. This is the first step in our ambitions to make unstructured data cutting edge on the closed-loop analytic platform. Look for more in future releases. In the third pillar, embedded intelligence, we've added an enhancement to our BYOM, or Bring Your Own Model feature. If you recall, the purpose of this feature is to allow customers who are new to the platform to maintain the value of their investments in other systems or other technologies. In short, if you have models that you've built elsewhere and you want to bring them to the closed loop, this is your on-ramp. The specific capacity that we've added is the ability to import models built using Python scikit-learn libraries. Python is ubiquitous in the data science world, and supporting these models only made sense for us. Under the fourth pillar, learning continuously, we've automated some of predictive analytics monitoring capabilities. The first step in learning continuously is understanding and being aware of a problem. Specifically, what we've added in Cortina is the ability to detect feature drift. This means if the shape of the data coming into a deployed model starts to drift out of a certain range, the modeler is alerted within the app via a visual cue. This will tell them it's time to go take a look. This will help prevent model staleness by giving the data scientist or the actuary a heads up that it might be time to refresh the model. These 3 features in our Cortina release, along with Data Studio's ability to liberate your data, is how Guidewire can make insurers brilliant in the moment. Take it away, Bruce.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks to all for joining us today. If you've been following the story so far, Autopilot for Claims has been unveiled, an analytics-driven workflow process to get settlement offers for Jess, our policyholder, within seconds after starting the claim process following her accident. Matt then demonstrated how Guidewire's closed-loop analytics drives the Autopilot experience behind the scenes. To reiterate, the 4 stages of the closed-loop analytics lifecycle. First, it is about the ability to leverage your data. Second, enrich those insights with additional relevant third-party data. Third, build and deploy the models and embed the intelligence into the workflow. And last, monitoring the results to continuously learn and improve. Matt's demonstration, as seen here, picked up at the transition between the first 2 stages. He began by sourcing a model-ready dataset provided by the Guidewire Data Platform and teased out more to come on how this was created within the data platform. The dataset was subsequently enriched with Guidewire curated data, the models created, deployed, and integrated into the Claim Center workflow. He finished out the loop by reviewing the impacts to key metrics using Guidewire Compare. But in reality, it takes a long time to build these analytic guided solutions. Then after they are implemented, you need to maintain the relevance over time. As you break down the problem, it always comes back to data. Up to 80% of the time spent towards enabling analytics is in the data preparation, which is tied to 2 key areas. First, just simply collecting the data, and second, curating that data into quality, analytic, business-ready data sets. So today, we're going to cycle back to the first step in the loop and demonstrate how Guidewire Data Platform will further enable customers to liberate your data within the closed loop and see how Guidewire is removing the friction of enabling analytics solutions. I am very excited to introduce Data Studio, an application that brings together many of the underlying services to expose the data assets within the Guidewire Data Platform. Data Studio is a Utro-based application that can be viewed as the face of the data platform. First, providing our customers with the ability to view and query the raw data ingested to the platform. Second, it provides access to all the curated data within the platform, both automatically curated data meant to simplify and accelerate data preparation, and out-of-the-box content, such as Explore for Claims or model-ready datasets, both of which I'll be demonstrating today. We can now modify these datasets or create new and derivative datasets for downstream use. And last, and arguably most important, as the data is of no value if it is not available to the users or applications that need it, you can tag and publish the business-ready datasets for consumption to your broader ecosystem. Data Studio removes the complexity of data preparation by making it easy to leverage both raw and curated business-ready data for analytic consumption. In our first use case here, we will see how Data Studio surfaces a model-ready dataset available on day 1 of being deployed to expedite the creation of the initial claim segmentation use case Matt had shown back in March. Upon logging in, Carl, our data integration engineer, will land on the home screen showing a list of all available data assets. However, depending on the task at hand, he can quickly sort the results, search for specific content, or change the quick filters. Within the quick filter, he sees categorizations of the data, which describe the object types. Data tables, being the raw version of data ingested into the data platform. Data sets, which are created due to a curation query definition. And published data sets, discoverable data sets available via integrated services. In this case, he is looking for the datasets associated to the claim segmentation probability of total loss model, which he quickly finds, opens, and is presented with a sampling of the dataset. He first views some additional metadata about the dataset, but then starts looking to see the underlying curation query metadata that defines how the dataset was created. Through his previous experiences with predictive modelers, he knows that even though an out-of-the-box model-ready dataset exists, modifications are needed to tailor it with extensions or business nuances that likely will bring additional features to the table and subsequent lift to the model results. Since this dataset is already deployed in the environment, he saves the definition as a new version of the dataset. Carl learned the Guidewire Data Platform also automatically generates curated content to simplify downstream usage. The simplified operations data layer automatically applies transformations to derive more business-friendly values, yes/no flags, for example. Relevant information is denormalized to parent entities based on relationship metadata, type list as a simple example. Further, an opinionated layer adds additional curation transformation and derivative metrics for reusable consumption. The auto-curated datasets also include any extensions made to the source insurance suite applications, Claim Center in this case. Carl knows the Claim Center team extended the application with an integration to retrieve current used car values when the incidents are created at first notice of loss. Remembering the included sources for the data, he quickly pulls up the simplified incident dataset and verifies that the column is present. He goes back to the SQL editor for his dataset and modifies the query definition to include his extension content. He validates the new definition and runs a preview to verify the expected results. Satisfied the dataset looks as expected, Carl is ready to publish. He finds the Publish option in the Actions menu, verifies the name, and chooses the Predict capability. By tagging a dataset with this capability, it will automatically be surfaced in Guidewire's predictive analytics applications via the integration with the data platform. Leveraging out-of-the-box curated content and simplified data layers, Carl can provide his predictive modelers a model-ready dataset within hours versus what previously would have taken weeks. We will now look at how Data Studio also enables other capabilities in the loop. In our example here, Carl's dataset was quickly enriched, deployed, and operationalized within ClaimCenter. In addition to using Guidewire Compare to monitor the impact on the model against metrics related to the change in workflow, Guidewire's Explore can also be used to provide visualizations and dashboards on the outcome of model results to continuously learn and improve. After the model was operationalized, solution scoring results from the predictive analytics applications were fed back into the data platform. Carl is now tasked with adding those results to existing Explore for Claims datasets, so claims managers can monitor the guidance provided against actual outcomes. Carl goes back to Data Studio and searches for the new scoring results data table. He is onto it and quickly starts reviewing the contents of the data table. He notices the data contains the identifiers, which are likely what is needed to join the new data to the existing Explore datasets. Now he goes back to find the Explore for Claims datasets and finds the Claim Inventory Curated dataset. He starts by opening the dataset and reviewing the structure by toggling to the SQL editor. He quickly sees the same identifiers he found in the scoring results data table. He again starts by saving a new version. Next up is adding the new scoring data table as a new source into the curation query definition and defining the relationship information. He performs a quick validation and now proceeds to adding the additional data elements to the query definition. One last query validation and running a preview confirms what the new dataset will contain. He is now ready to publish again. After confirming the dataset name, this time around, he will choose to tag the dataset with Visualize as the capability being enabled. Once published, the related Data Platform Explore services will be able to discover the new dataset and surface it in the application. The business intelligence team is notified the new dataset is ready, and they can proceed with visualization and content development. After a bit of time passes, he logs into Explore to see the end results. In the dashboard example here, initial segmentation guidance is charted against final indemnity severity metrics for closed claims. Claims managers can now quickly discover outliers against predicted guidance for further investigation to help assess if model changes might be needed for future improvements. We have seen how Data Studio, the face of the Guidewire Data Platform, makes curation easy by enabling you to build, organize, and publish business-ready datasets. We have also seen how Data Studio powers the first pillar, critical stage of Guidewire's closed-loop analytics. It accelerates customers' ability to leverage raw and out-of-the-box curated content within the Guidewire Data Platform to create model-ready datasets for predictive modeling, as well as closing the loop with datasets for monitoring the outcomes through Explore visualizations. Beyond the use cases we have demonstrated here today, we are truly excited about the opportunities that are now unlocked by Data Studio with respect to content creation, and the ability to create a rich ecosystem of marketplace and pluggable content and solutions, no wrangling required. Data Studio will be available as early access with our Cortina release for Guidewire Cloud customers, and will be included with Guidewire Cloud subscriptions. With Guidewire Cloud, you are able to make your next upgrade your last upgrade, launch new products fast, and leverage closed-loop analytics to drive insights. Thanks for watching, and back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Bruce. That was fantastic. That's incredible progress that your team has made. I have a few questions, as I'm sure people in our audience do, and I'm sure you're anticipating most of these, but I'll just go ahead and fire away. So the first one is, at the end of your demo there, you mentioned that Data Studio is going to be available as EA and Cortina. So a natural follow-up would be, when will Data Studio be available GA, and will it be available globally?
No coincidence how that is always the first question, as it should be, right? For Dobson, we're planning international early access. General availability is currently targeted for Elysian, and when GA, it will be available for global use.
Okay, so that's great to hear. How about assume that I am a Guidewire partner sitting in the audience. The question I would have is, can I start using Data Studio?
Sure. If partners are working with customers who have enrolled in the Early Access Customer Program, they will have the ability to start using Data Studio as soon as it becomes available to the customer.
Okay, wonderful. So switching gears a little bit, during your demo, I noticed that you demoed two other products. One was Compare and one was Explore. Can you explain the difference between those two?
Sure thing. Compare uses contributory data that allows customers to benchmark their performance to that of their peers, for those who had opted in, of course. Explore, on the other hand, allows carriers to create reporting, visualization, and dashboard content against their own operational and workflow data.
Okay, great. So one's benchmarking, one's operational workflow. Anticipating another question that we would get from the audience, assume I'm a self-managed customer. Is Data Studio available for me?
Unfortunately, not today. Data Studio is only available for Guidewire Cloud customers. As our ingestion capabilities evolve, we will be considering opening Data Studio to self-managed customers in a future release.
Okay, and then finally, what's next in terms of innovation for Data Studio?
That is a great question, Matt. Cortina marks the initial release of Data Studio, but we are already actively working on the next set of features. First, introducing new visual-based UI components for enhanced interaction with the data, profiling and lineage, for example. Second, enhancing the back-end execution engine capabilities with broader support of query functions such as bitemporal queries and batch snapshots. And third, as a library of business-ready content grows, we want to enable our customers to leverage this content quickly and easily. Hence, we're working towards import-export features to facilitate the movement of data curation metadata from one environment to the other.
Thanks, Bruce. And I'll speak for everybody when I say that this is very exciting stuff. And thank you guys in the audience for joining us for this May Connection session and learning how Data Studio can liberate your data and how Guidewire is making insurers brilliant in the moment. I hope you enjoyed it. Please fill out your surveys, and I'll see you at the next one.